Oh, yeah.
Okay. So shall I just ask you questions and you can answer into your phone? Is that okay?
Yes, that's okay.
Okay. So tell me your name and what your job is.
My name is Lisbeth Christine Røyneland, and I'm the president of the National Support Group after the 22nd of July terror attacks in 2011.
So
Uh,
tell me what happened in 2011 with you. What was your experience? If you don't mind me asking that
yeah.
question.
In 2011, my youngest daughter, Synne, 18 years old, was on a summer camp at Utøya. And on the Friday, the 22nd, there was this terrorist who came to the island and massacred 69 young people. One of them was my daughter.
I mean, that awful trauma is difficult to understand for most people. It must have been a terrible thing.
Yes, it was. It was really horrid. In Norway, we haven't had any terror attacks since World War II, so was the first attack, and we were all terrified. The whole nation was upset. Mm.
And what kind of support did you find was there for you as a victim initially? When it first happened, what was around? Was there anything there?
Yes, there was some support there from the government, psychological support, but we didn't at that time have any support group. That was founded in August the same year, and I felt that it was a really great comfort for me to talk to people who have experienced the same thing, like peer-to-peer support.
And were you one of the people who founded the support group?
Yes, I was found in the branch in Oslo in September 2011, and I joined the national support group in 2012.
And how did that develop? What kind of things did you do as a support group?
In the national support group, we have a lot of cooperation with the government in order to get the right help for the people who need it, and also the right financial help. So it's a complex situation where we have to have contact with lawyers, the government, the health department, and all these instances to help people to get on with their lives.
When did you first hear about the Radicalization Awareness Network?
That was after I was president in 2015. We came across RAN, and that was really an interesting group. And I felt that it was really helpful for us to talk to victims all over Europe that have similar experiences as we do.
And what at the time, what were your first impressions of what the network was and what it did? What did you think when you first came across it?
My first opinion was that it was, a group for victims, mainly victims from different countries. But after the years have gone on, I've learned that it is so much more.
And how did you hear about it? Was it through your network or was it something else?
No, it was through our network. Some of us in the board were contacted by RAN, as I remember it. Mm.
Okay, and what how has your involvement or role with RAN changed over time personally? What do you do now that you didn't do then?
Mm.
No.
At first, I was a victim like everybody else, but after the years have gone by, I've contributed in, planning the 11th of March this year, and I've participated in meetings concerning, other topics like communications, how to prevent radicalization, and so on. And I think that's a really interesting field to work with.
And can you explain the concept or the role of the Victims of Terror Working Group? I mean, what is it for and how does it work?
It works like
So if you could begin with the Victims of Terror Working Group.
could you repeat that, please?
Yeah, if you could begin the sentence with the Victims of Terror Working Group.
Yeah.
So the question is, can you tell me about the concept or the role of the Victims of Terror Working Group?
The Victims of Terror Working Group is working to give support to victims all over Europe. And the group is also working in giving victims the same help, nevertheless where you are in Europe, to try and give them the same support.
And how important is it to have a network like RAN, one that reaches across the whole of Europe?
It's really positive to have this working group, and it gives us a lot in the board in Norway to know that we have this group to discuss different topics with.
How has being in this network helped you personally, and professionally? Has it helped you in those areas?
I think it's been a real comfort in many ways, to talk to other victims and knowing that you're not alone. That gives a really good feeling and a way to go on.
And do you feel the same with other victims? You think when you look at how it works, do you think it helps them as well in some ways?
Yes, I know it does. Many people have said to me that if I had the choice between a psychiatrist at this time and the support group, I would always choose the support group.
Fantastic.
Mm.
And how do you think RAN helps in terms of understanding what role victims can play in preventing or countering violent extremism? That idea that victims can have a progressive, helpful role in this thing that we do.
Mm. I think the victims play a really large role. For instance, in Norway we have the 22nd of July Center and the Learning Center at Utøya, where victims are invited over to talk to young school classes and different adults about what happened. And the clue is that we tell the story just where it happens. And then the story gets, much more legitimate, and the people really listen.
And is that something? I mean, that's a really. I mean, I've heard of that, and it's a kind of must be a very strong experience to go there, and also for you as well, and to be part of that. I mean, is that the kind of thing that in RAN you would take and share, and then hope people can help develop their own approaches like that?
Yes, I hope so. I've had one time in RAN, it was a couple of years ago, I think. I told my story there, and a lot of other victims also. And it's always the best thing. I think that the victims tell the stories themselves. They own their own story. It's not a story that can be told by anybody else.
And do you feel has RAN's approach to victims of terror changed? Do you think over the years?
Yes, it changed a couple of years, because now they're reaching out to more victims. To make sure that you have a broad spectrum of victims that are invited to the 11th of March, for instance. So they're really doing a great effort to make the RAN a much more professional group. That's my opinion.
And what's your and do you think there's a change in the idea of what victims can contribute to general approaches to prevention?
Yes, I think so. It's important that the victims' voices are heard and that we can tell our stories. And we're not just victims. We are also people living people who have our experience both before the terror attack and afterwards. So making use of that experience is really important.
And does RAN to some extent give you a platform to do that?
Yeah, I think so.
Could you put that in a sentence if that's okay for me?
Yes, RAN has made a platform that enables us to do just that.
Your English is fantastic, by the way. It's great you can handle this. It's amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, really good. I think that's almost all of it. I mean, what did you say? What your role is in the working group? I don't know if you told me that.
In the working group, my role is to be a representative from the support group in Norway.
Okay, and what do you do? Do you kind of attend meetings and kind of go to events?
Yes, both attending meetings and go to events with RAN. Yeah.
What would you like to see happening next with RAN? You know, what are your hopes for the future? How would you like things to develop?
I hope RAN continues the good work they have done and are doing in the future, and it's become a really, important organization in Europe that I think is very much appreciated by the victims also.
Thank you very much, Lisbeth.
Thank you.
Now you can turn around and face me if you want.
Yeah.
Hi.
Hi. I'll just stop this one.
That was the first